Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, why do Arizona job recovery numbers lag national employment figures? What does the defeat of Eric Cantor in Virginia mean for the Tea Party and the GOP in Arizona and around the country? And how did these first and second graders learn to write computer code? Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simon. State Attorney General Tom Horne today threatened to sue the federal government over the transfer of illegal immigrants from Texas to Arizona. In a statement, Horne said he would give the government a reasonable amount of time to stop the practice before he would look to team with other states in filing a lawsuit. Another name change controversy in the race for Congressional District 7. A supporter of candidate Mary Rose Wilcox filed a suit against opponent Ruben Gallego, accusing Gallego of not using his real name on the ballot, but the suit was dropped after it was found Gallego had legally changed his name in 2008. Wilcox did not apologize for the suit, saying that the name change had not been discovered because of a clerical error by the courts. Another Democratic candidate in District 7, Scott Fissler, has been under fire for changing his name to Cesar Chavez. Arizona is lagging behind the national economy in recovering jobs lost during the Great Recession. And here to help us figure out why that's happening is Lee McFeeters, director of the J.P. Morgan Chase Economic Outlook Center at ASU's W.P. Carey School of Business. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Let's talk about this. The U.S. employment level now back up to pre-recession levels. Arizona's isn't. Why?
Well, the national economy added another 200,000 jobs last month. So that was a real milestone. All the jobs lost in the recession have now been recovered, about 8.7 billion at the national level. You look at the Arizona numbers, we are just better than 55% recovered. So there's quite a difference between where the national economy is and where Arizona is in terms of getting all those lost jobs back.
Talk about that difference. What are we seeing here?
Well, the difference really has its basis in the fact that the U.S. economy lost 6% of jobs. Arizona lost 12%. On top of that, Arizona went into the recession sooner, came out of the recession later. So went in sooner, came out later, fell further, and therefore we have a much bigger hole to dig our way out of. On top of that, you have the fact that the rate of growth has simply been in the range of about 2%, where we need 4 to 5%, I think, to really have the kind of Arizona recovery that most analysts were expecting a couple of years ago.
I think most would understand that we got hit extra hard during the recession, so it might take an extra hard effort to get out of that particular hole. But the rate of growth is 2% business. What's going on there?
Well, the drivers that we usually see in Arizona have been fairly sluggish. For example, you'd expect construction to be one of the leaders in recovery. This is what you historically see in recession comebacks. Right now, we're seeing construction job growth about 1%. We are seeing a fairly weak housing market. Commercial building is not very strong. So construction is simply not in the picture right now. Although, growth is positive, but it's just not a driver of the economy. Retail sales are affected by the fact that personal incomes are not growing very fast. So that's a large sector. A big part of the Arizona economy is retail, and that's not growing very fast as well. And then you have tourism, which is affected by the national economy. And since the national economy is still some distance from where you would say, we were having really robust growth, tourism is not as strong as it might be.
I would imagine in-migration still isn't doing all that well, because you've got folks who still can't sell their homes perhaps somewhere else. And the job opportunities here may not be. It's almost like a vicious cycle. If you can, you're looking for a job here, you can't sell your home to get here. I mean, it's all kind of a loop.
That's very much the difference between where we are with this recovery and where we have been in previous rebounds. Population growth is probably going to be under 1.5%. Just to give you some context, in a strong Arizona economy, you'd expect to see 2 to 3% population growth. That drives housing, that drives service employment. and we're simply not seeing that wave of people moving to Arizona right now.
We are seeing and keep hearing about these big scores, whether it's Apple or State Farm. I think folks are expecting to see better numbers after hearing those particular stories. What's going on?
Well, all of that is to the good, of course, but each of those represents a few thousand jobs, and those are very valuable jobs, good jobs, but we have an economy with 2.5 million people in the labor force. What we really need is something in the range of 3 to 4% growth. That would be 100,000 jobs a year. We haven't seen 100,000 jobs added to the Arizona economy since, I would say, 2006.
Yeah.
So we're, close to 8 or 9 years since we've really seen the kind of growth that this economy is capable of.
We also hear about tax breaks and tax credits. Just, in general, how much of a factor are those in what has been Arizona's recovery? Regardless of how that recovery is going, are they impacting what we're seeing out there?
Well, I think one of the key things here is that when you look at the tax structure, you want to be competitive. You don't necessarily have to have the lowest taxes. I think that you do need to be competitive, and I think Arizona's taken some steps, especially with business taxes, to get us more in line with what some of the competition is doing. On the other hand, when you look at a business and you look at their costs, what are the costs? The cost of equipment, the cost of supplies, the cost of labor. Taxes is way down the list in terms of its proportionate contribution to the total budget of a business. But certainly lower taxes are better, I think, as an attraction.
How about it as an attraction or perhaps a repellent? The image of a state. Arizona's image has been hammered, some would say unfairly, but hammered nonetheless. Is that an impact on a slow rebound?
To some extent, we do have a business model, a development model that is based on the idea that this is an attractive place for business to relocate, for people to come and perhaps have a better quality of life and reinvent themselves. And to the extent then that we show up on the Jon Stewart show, behind the host and some sort of perhaps sarcastic remarks, none of that I think is very positive. On the other hand, if you had a stronger economy, I think, and we had a better job growth kind of environment right now, I think that would probably be one of the key things we need in order to get people and businesses to relocate here.
Interesting. I noticed in these latest numbers, California and Texas doing very well, kind of leading the U.S. rebound. A place like New Mexico, as far as getting those jobs back, doing very poorly. Why are some of these states doing well? Why is New Mexico, for example, doing so badly?
New Mexico is a state that has a higher proportion of employment in government, and at the federal level, government jobs have been decreasing since, I believe, 2011. You look at Arizona or most other states, you find that local government jobs have been decreasing for several years. So to the extent that you depend on government, this is not perhaps a very good time to expect your economy to be showing much growth.
And last question here, as far as the U.S. economy, just in general, we talked about Arizona, but the U.S. economy in general, the recovery is taking its time, to say the least. Why is that? Why has this been such a long slog?
The driver of growth at the national level, after you kind of set aside special circumstances having to do with energy production and so forth, is the consumer. 70% of the economy is accounted for by the consumer, and consumers are still paying off debt. In many parts of the country, consumers are still underwater. Arizona, less so than we were, but still a problem. The consumers still see a high unemployment rate, and now we're seeing this emerging problem of the presence of student debt, perhaps slowing down the ability of consumers to really make purchases, big ticket purchases, simply because of their debt load of consumer debt tied to their college experiences.
So nationally, though, at least those jobs are coming back. I guess if you put the population increase in there, though, you have a whole new metric. But the fact is, jobs are coming back. Arizona jobs are coming back, just not quite as quickly as we'd like.
They are coming back, and in a couple of sectors, really, we're seeing great growth in finance. We're seeing great growth in healthcare. And Arizona is ranked in the top 5 states in the growth of both of those sectors. So those are good jobs, good wages, and I think that's an important boost for the Arizona economy.
Indeed. All right, Lee, good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Virginia Congressman Eric Cantor's loss to Tea Party activist Dave Bratt marked the first time in American history that a sitting U.S. House Majority Leader was defeated in a primary election. Here to discuss the fallout from Cantor's loss is Patrick Kenny, Interim Vice Provost and Dean of ASU's College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and a professor in the School of Politics and Global Studies. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to be here.
This loss by Eric Cantor, this primary loss, how surprising was that?
It's very surprising. If you look at the overall numbers, it's almost unheard of in the House of Representatives that actually any incumbents lose, always under 2-3%. In a primary, always under 2-3%, and certainly leadership almost unheard of, like you said, first time ever in history. And the primaries came in the early 1900s, so that's a 100-year run. That's the first time that's happened.
Did the Tea Party candidate win this thing, or did Eric Cantor lose it?
So I've been doing some reading on that. It does look probably a little bit of both, right? So Cantor probably, he had a lot of money he could have spent. He was sitting on a nice war chest that he didn't use. It looks like he spent a lot of time in D.C. and that was resonating negatively back in the district. But the Tea Party has a strong following in certain sectors, certain areas and locations. This is obviously one of them, and they can always rally out and increase turnout a little bit, and it looks like that's what they did.
So can you describe I know this is a suburb of Richmond. Is this the kind of area that might be similar to suburbs here in Phoenix?
Sure, and in Arizona in particular, you have elements of the Tea Party. The question always is, what is the percentage within the Republican Party? And that varies anywhere depending on the congressional district, not statewide, but depending on the congressional districts. It may run as small as 10 or 12% of the Republican Party up to maybe 30% of the Republican Party. And when you get in that 20-25% range, if turnout is low, they might have a particularly strong influence.
So basically, when we hear about Eric Cantor, and his image has always been as an ultra conservative,
right,
and he loses because he isn't conservative enough. I mean, again, is that a focused message on this district, that candidate, and his opponent, who I don't think people in Richmond even knew all that much about this guy,
right, exactly,
this professor, I guess, at a university there. I mean, is this so focused that people in Arizona don't take a step back, or does everyone take a step back?
I think everybody takes a step back. There's some really interesting research coming out, it's almost 30 years ago, called Unsafe at Any Margin, and meaning that congressmen always worry just about this. And this is one reason incumbents raise so much money. It's one reason they have so much money. They'll outspend their challengers if they can by as wide a margin as they can. They always worry about this. It happens now this one's really unusual, but incumbents do lose once in a while in the primary and once in a while in the general. They always worry about this. All incumbents always take a step back when something like this happens and reassesses. One thing that's interesting to me, I don't know what their internal polling showed,
Yes.
but obviously they were off because he wasn't engaged in the campaign. He wasn't running much of his campaign.
That was going to be my next question. I mean, candidates have their internal polling, and when warning flags show up, you would think he would get out of D.C., it's not that long a trip down there to Richmond, and take care of business. I mean, something must have gone very wrong with his polling people.
Right. House primaries or House general elections, as far as that goes, but House primaries in particular are very difficult to poll because the people often aren't sure ahead of Election Day, too far ahead of Election Day, exactly which district they're in, exactly which congressman represents them at any one time, because a lot of time media markets cut across congressional districts. So voters are seeing, and that would be classic for Arizona. We have one media market covering all the Phoenix area. Almost all of our congressional districts touch into that media market. So people are seeing all kinds of different names of House members on TV. So sometimes they're going, gosh, is that my congressman? I'm not sure. So they have a hard time identifying exactly which voters are going to vote in which particular primary, and that clearly must have been going on here.
As far as issues are concerned, it sounds like immigration was a factor in this race. Just the idea that he was willing to talk and think about immigration reform may have cost him as far as the primary is concerned. Is that what you're seeing as well? And does this mean, I mean, is immigration even going to be touched by the GOP for the rest of the year?
So I haven't seen any good exit polling that makes me think that immigration tipped it one way or another. But that is the way it's being run. That's the way it's being talked about, somewhat because the media was talking about that and urging people, since he looked like he might compromise a little bit on that, that maybe they need to take that, that is, the Tea Party needs to take that into account. I think it's the probability of anything major on immigration between now and the election day is almost zero. I mean, I can't, especially from the House. I can't imagine anything major. I guess maybe that could be a minor thing, but I don't think so. The Senate gave them a bill some time ago, and it's not moved at all.
Well, and you mentioned the Senate. Lindsey Graham, who was part of that bill, he wins in a cakewalk. And again, it makes you wonder, is this just an anomaly, or is this something that's a trend? And what does this say now? What does this mean for Republican politics?
Right, so if you look at all 435 races over time, this is an anomaly. Right, and it's hard, and it's, if you think of things being distributed in kind of a pattern where we can predict some of these kinds of outcomes, no one would have predicted this, so this is an anomaly. There's something odd happened there between the turnout and between Cantor's taking good care of his district, and it looks like maybe he hadn't been doing that. He didn't engage quite right. Those kind of variables all lining in one particular race are pretty unusual. So, but your second part of the question, is there a trend here? The Tea Party overall, probably since 10, they're probably ebbing just a little bit because they've targeted a number of races that they're trying to do well in, and this is a big splash for them. It looks like they've had some success, and they have some success in Tennessee where they pushed a race to a runoff. But probably overall, they're not quite as powerful as they were, I would say, 1 or 2 election cycles ago. Not so much anything they've done, but I think the mainstream in the Republican Party, especially the money behind the Republican Party, the traditional Republican Party, they've engaged to be sure their candidates do not get, this doesn't happen to very many candidates.
And that was going to be my next question. Does the establishment, the Republican establishment here, do they fight back, or do they start playing ball a little more?
No, I think they continue to fight back. I think the Republican establishment, and what I mean by that is traditional Republican constituencies, Chamber of Commerce folks, small businessmen, officers in the military, those kinds of folks. Overall, those longtime rural voters, small towns, those longtime traditional Republican voters have been with the party a long time, especially the money folks that support that. They probably want to run candidates that are a little bit closer to the middle of the spectrum rather than that far to the right overall.
Okay, so with that in mind, what lessons did we learn here? And I know Brent Bozell, Republican strategist, his quote was, "The grassroots are in revolt and they're marching." Is that valid, and is that something we will see more of as we head to November?
I think there's always the risk for incumbents that there'll be a bit of a grassroots movement to overthrow them. It's just that it's rare that it mobilizes because they need a lot of money, okay, to get that done, especially to defeat U.S. House members or U.S. senators. Nevertheless, there's always an opportunity when turnout is low for a grassroots kind of organization to build a little quickly and make a difference in a race. And this maybe is what happened here. Social media might have helped a little bit too.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff can happen quicker. We don't know a lot about that. We're trying to learn more about that.
And you mentioned Tea Party, and you mentioned grassroots and the money that's needed, and that may be a problem for the At what point does the big money, I know the Koch brothers are a lot involved with some of these groups, these Tea Party groups, but at what point does the big money say, grassroots, I'm going that direction?
Yeah, and I think some already has. And that depends, I think it depends where the money wants to align, right? So they're deciding which races they want to get involved in, and when they get involved in a race, then they hope to tap into the grassroots. I think the causal flow is that way, right? The strategists with the money decide these candidates look vulnerable, we need to do this here, and then they try to engage the grassroots.
Yeah, well, interesting stuff. Quite a surprise, wasn't it?
It is a very big surprise, there's no question about that.
All right, good stuff, good to have you here.
Yep, thank you.
Tonight's edition of Arizona Technology and Innovation looks at a Phoenix teacher who was recently honored nationally as one of 50 digital innovators by PBS. The teachers are recognized for using technology in their classrooms in groundbreaking ways. Producer Shauna Fisher and photographer Juan Magana introduce us to first grade teacher Karen Mensing and her pint-sized programmers.
What looks like a typical classroom is anything but.
Hey, I'm Elisa. And I'm Charlie.
And I'm Ibrahim, and today we're going to work on the MIT Calculator app.
Hi!
The first and second graders in Karen Mensing's classroom embrace technology in a way that is astounding.
We've been working on coding all year, using Scratch and Tinker and App Inventor, and the kids love it.
Today, the kids are creating a calculator app with a little help from their student tutors at Paradise Valley High School.
The kids are very, very natural with technology, which is fantastic. And I say almost, the younger ones they're a clean slate, so I put something in front of them and they catch on very quickly. Many times I'll introduce something new and a student in the class has mastered it quicker than I have. And that's great. I tell them, great, now you can show us, you can show me.
Miss Mensing uses technology every day in her classroom. Fireside Elementary is a 21st century school, which means technology is incorporated into every lesson.
It's common to walk in classrooms, and in kindergarten up until 6th grade, up into our 6th grade classrooms, there will be students that are in groups working on their projects based through the iPads, through Chromebooks. We use a lot of Google apps.
It's awesome because you get to explore different sites and it's not like math because it's boring. You just have to do it on a sheet of paper. But in technology, there's these math sites that are games, but you're actually learning math.
Sometimes the technology is the lesson, as in the case of the calculator app. And sometimes Miss Mensing incorporates technology into the lesson. Here, the students are reviewing a lesson on Cinco de Mayo by using Google Forms to create a questionnaire about the holiday. Assistant Principal Shannon Sherwood says, given the world we live in, it's important kids are introduced to technology at a young age.
So it's really important that we start them in kindergarten, so they have those foundations that they can then grow upon and take it further. So when it's time for them to graduate high school, move into college, move into the workforce, they're well equipped.
Right now, it's 2014. This is the world we live in. There is technology everywhere. Every adult I know has a smartphone in their pocket at all times, meaning they have a computer in their pocket at all times. They can take a picture, they can take a video, they can Google something, they can send an email, they can do any of that at a moment's notice. So that's where we are. If I'm teaching the kids like it's the 80s, like it was when I was in 1st and 2nd grade, I'm doing them a disservice. That's not the time it is now. I need to teach them how the world is right now.
With access to all kinds of devices, it does seem intimidating, but the students are enthusiastic. Not only have they created apps, but they also have made games and art programs.
Usually, it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. For the first time when I opened the computer last year, I was like, what do I do? What do I do? But once you learn and your teacher explains it to you, you kind of get the hang of how do you go to this site and what do you do, and it's just easier once you practice.
And that practice leads to success. and an outpouring of gratitude for a teacher who believes in her students unconditionally.
If I could clone and make a million of Karens, absolutely, I would put a Karen in every classroom.
She's a great teacher. She teaches us a lot of technology things, and, well, she's the greatest teacher I could ever have.
Karen Mensing is also a Google certified teacher and travels around the country instructing other educators on Google's educational programs. Friday on Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists Roundtable. The Maricopa County Attorney has publicly asked Attorney General Tom Horne to resign, and controversies involving name changes in the race for Congressional District 7. Those stories and more Friday on the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.